Do you feel like it's time for you to move on, but you're too afraid to take the next step? I have been there a few times myself. And while I was there, I was forced to move out of the space. And I was also given the opportunity to willingly move out of the space. So if you're currently feeling stuck and you don't know what to do and how to maneuver, this episode is specifically for you. What's up, ladies, and welcome back to another episode of Her Clarity Space. I'm your girl, Jess, and I'm here to share with you the real. So today we are talking about moving on to the next phase in life and being afraid to do so. At first, we're going to talk about having to move on and being forced to do so. So when I was in my 20s, I needed to leave this relationship. I needed to get out of that relationship. I needed to move on and get a new start and just be in a whole new environment. And I felt like the conditions of my relationship got so bad because God was trying to let me know, hey, listen, I'm giving you the signs. It's time to move on. And I did take that sign, but I did not take the sign to take a chance and move to another city and have a new start, have a new beginning for myself, even though I had a feeling that that was something that I needed to do. I just wasn't ready to accept the next step. So what ended up happening, I moved with my sister. I lived with my sister for a little while, and she came to me and she told me, Jess, I'm moving to Florida. And anybody who knows me knows that that's the worst thing you could ever tell me, because I have family from Florida. Majority of my family is from Florida. I always would go and visit Florida. But you guys, I literally hated going to Florida. So her telling me that was like a gut punch, because I was not in a stable position. I wasn't even working. I was still accepting my unemployment. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do about school. And I was just all types of confused. So I had to move to Florida. And it was one of the best decisions. One of the best things that I was actually forced to do, because I would love to say that it was a decision, but really your girl was just fresh out of options and I had to go with what was there. And that was my only choice at the time. So I took it. I moved to Florida. I got back into school. I didn't have any friends, meaning I didn't have any distractions. Well, I did have one distraction. I was actually in a long distance relationship. Oh my gosh, trying to figure out life and being in a long distance relationship is not for the weak. Being in a long distance relationship, period, is not for the weak, but I cannot lie. He was a major support for me while I was going through that transition. And I really appreciate him for that time. So I moved to Florida. I work a bunch of freaking dead end jobs. Luckily, I had the support of both of my parents financially, which really helped me. So at that point, I'm starting from ground zero. But I end up finally graduating college with my bachelor's in criminal justice. And I finally got a real job working in the career field that I wanted to be in. I started working for the sheriff's office. I worked in the jail, y'all. Now that was an experience of its own. Maybe I'll do a little TED talk about my jail days, but we'll talk about that later. So that was the time where I took the next step, but I really didn't do it because I wanted to do it. I was forced into doing it, but it turned into something very beautiful for me. It led me to where I am now, ultimately. Now, talking about moving on and you're ready to move on, you're willingly taking that next step. When I believe I was 30 or maybe 31. This was about 5 years ago. I had been in Florida for about 7 or 8 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm ready to move back to Atlanta. Not only am I ready to move back to Atlanta, but I am ready to explore entrepreneurship. I had started an online plus size boutique and I was like, you know what? I want to just go for it. I just want to do the thing. And y'all, I did the damn thing and it was beautiful. I was up here, I was running my business, doing it all on my own. And what ended up happening? Your girl got into another relationship. And this is with somebody totally different. It was not long distance. Although I wish it had been, it probably would have saved me a whole lot of struggle. But nevertheless, your girl got into a relationship. He was not supportive in any way. Do you hear me? He needed way too much attention for my liking. So I was very distracted and I didn't have any other income to fall back on. So what ended up happening? I ended up getting another job, which is where I'm working at today. And I still want to say, you guys, it's still a blessing, because no matter what step I took, whether it was the right or the left one, I still always feel like I ended up in where I'm supposed to be. So I took the step, I moved back to Georgia, I ran my business, and I did it until I just felt like it didn't make sense to continue on anymore, because on top of being distracted, on top of feeling like I needed a stable source of income, I also just wasn't feeling so passionate about selling clothes anymore. I got to the point to where I'm like, you know what? I think I just enjoy shopping and not selling the clothes. So I still want to get into entrepreneurship. That is ultimately my goal. Working a 9-to-5 has always been like my plan B. But the next time I step out, the next time I take that first step, I am going to be ready, prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And there isn't going to be any plan B. Your girl is going to be ready this time. Okay, locked and loaded, fully armored. I am going to be prepared to take the next step next time. So I just want you to know that whether it's a move that you're making willingly or it's a move that you're making unwillingly, I want you to just accept the fact that it's a move that needs to be made. Because sometimes, even though I do believe that we all have our best interests, we all want the best for ourselves, sometimes we're just not in the mental space to make the best decisions for ourselves. And life has to force us into those decisions. So when you feel like your back is up against the wall and you're having to do something that you really don't want to do, that is not always a bad thing, because that pressure can create something so beautiful for you. But you're never going to know until you do it. So take the chance, girl. And listen, I know it is a scary thing, taking that first step into your next life, but there are so many beautiful things that comes out of those next steps. You're entering into a new chapter. You could be possibly starting a new life for yourself, meeting new people, creating the family and community that you've always wanted, living a life that you didn't even know was possible. Sometimes we create our dreams and they're only based on how far we can think. And sometimes the things that are meant for us go far beyond what we are thinking. So you have to know that just because it's not in your plan does not mean that it's not for you, because although you want the best for yourself, do you always know what's best for you? Do you always know what is the best choice? So I think we have to trust that God is keeping us aligned. And if you're feeling backed into a corner to make a specific decision, I am most certain that is God that is pushing you into a direction that you need to be going into, and maybe you're just not willing to accept. So there's so many beautiful things that can come out of you taking that next step. But there are also some struggles that comes along with you taking that next step into your new life. One of the main struggles is letting go of the pieces of you that were too afraid to do the thing. Grieving the old version of you. You're literally stepping into something that you possibly have never done before, and you may not even be prepared for it. Maybe you were not always consistent. You're stepping into a space that requires you to show up consistently. You have to grieve that part of you that was always procrastinating, that was always putting things off, that always let her fear keep her in places that she no longer wanted to be in. And that is a hard thing. I would love to tell you that it's easy. I would love to tell you that you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be like, oh, you know what? This doesn't bother me. It's not that simple. Grieving old pieces of you, because when you find yourself dealing with difficult situations, you're automatically going to want to convert back to the spaces that were once comfortable for you. And the places that were comfortable for you are not always the healthiest places. So it is a struggle, but you just have to keep in your mind that this struggle is worth something. This struggle is taking me somewhere. And this struggle is temporary, because as long as I keep showing up time after time after time, eventually I will be on the other side. And eventually my comfortable space will be my new habits, will be my healthier habits, will be the new me. That old version will eventually dwindle away, but you have to be willing to see it through. And another struggle you have to be prepared for is the people that are surrounding you may not like the new step that you're taking. But I want you to know that this journey is yours, and it's yours alone. They're walking their own journey. You are not put there to live a life that is appeasing of others. You need to make these decisions, take these steps, and never look back. Because the people that have a problem with you moving into that new direction, they're probably not meant to go with you anyways. So it all comes out in the wash. Everything works out for the greater good for you, as long as you're willing to see it through. You have to know that although the shifts may not make sense at the moment, the shifts are happening for your greater good. And before we end off this episode, I do want to leave you with this message. I didn't want to drag this out because there's really not a lot to it. There's really nothing to it but to do it. And I just want you to know that when you are destined to be in a specific space, you're going to be there whether you were ready or not. You will get signs. And if you continue to avoid those signs, you will find yourself backed into a corner to where you have no other choice but do what you're called to do. So I want to remind you that you shouldn't be afraid of moving into new chapters, because moving into a new chapter is proof that you're living. Imagine getting to the middle of a book and you can't get out of chapter 15, and there's 50 chapters in this book and you can't get beyond chapter 15 because you're too afraid of what's going to be in 16. But you know that somewhere in those chapters between 15 and 50, greatness lies in between those chapters. So don't be afraid to take a chance. Don't be afraid to bet on yourself. And don't feel like you're failing just because you're backed into a corner. Being backed into a corner is just God giving you the nudge that you need to do the things that you are meant to do. I want to thank you guys so much for sitting through this episode. It has been an absolute pleasure. This is Her Clarity Space, and I'm your girl, Jess. And I want you to remember that the road does not always have to be clear in order for you to have clarity. I will see you guys next week.